Hey there, it's Sandra. Welcome back to the Schwowin's Nest. Today I have some trash to treasure decor ideas and a wonderful bathroom makeover. And I'd like to thank Zuru for sponsoring today's video. A couple of years ago, I redid some of my bathroom decor. I painted the walls a really beautiful cream color, and the bleached oak cabinets just didn't do it for me anymore. I've had this house for 33 years, and back then the bleached oak was in style, but it's not anymore. So I'm going to do a really fun makeover. So I'm going to just remove all of the hardware. The next thing I'm going to do is take some vinegar and dish soap and give everything a really good scrub down, making sure there isn't any hairspray, there isn't any oils or greases or anything like that still left. And I'm going to be using this sponge, which will give me the ability to give it a good scrub. If you've ever wanted to paint some cupboards, but you were unsure of how to do it, how to get started, and how it would turn out, the bathroom is the best place to start. My cupboards are quite large here, but you might have a little powder room with just one small little vanity cupboard, and that would be a perfect place to start. Then, using a clean cloth, I'm going to give it a good wipe down, making sure that everything is nice and dry. It's really important to prep your cabinets before you actually add some additional paint. So I am going to be using Kilz Original. It's a primer, sealer, and stain blocker, and I'm going to give everything one coat. Then I'm going to go with this interior semi-gloss enamel, which is in a light gray color. Since I gave these cabinets a really good cleaning, I'm only going to need to do one coat of the Kilz, and there's really not a whole lot of stains or bleed through that's going to happen, but I just wanted to be extra sure that my color was going to go on the way I wanted it to. The great thing about paint is all it takes is a little elbow grease and a few dollars to make things happen. And if you don't like it, you can always paint it again. As I said earlier, this is a really light gray paint. I think I would compare it to something like Parisian gray chalk paint from Folk Art. It's just a really nice color, neutral, and it's going to be the perfect base coat for the next step that I'm going to do with these cabinets. I did give these two coats of the gray paint. Another tip I can give you is to always follow the direction of the wood grain. That's just going to make everything look more natural and more professional. So here's a look at a side by side. The one on the left is just the solid gray paint, the two coats that I put on. And where the knobs are on this section is a darker gray dry brush. And I did use a country gray chalk paint from Rust-Oleum. Let me know what you would have done. If you would have left them the gray, the solid color, or if you would have gone with that extra step and made them look a little bit more like weathered wood, maybe even some old barn wood. This is how I did it. I just did some dry brushing with a really rough chip brush. I went in the direction of the wood grain for each section. The great thing about painting something is that if you don't like it, you can just go ahead and repaint it a different color. So at some point down the road, I'll probably change my mind and do another paint job on these. But for now, I really love the look of it. Wherever there are some darker spots, I'm just going to go over it with the lighter paint one more time, and I'll just keep working on the dry brushing until I get the look that I'm happy with. Here's a look at the final cabinets. I really like it. I think it's a welcome change to what I had before. It looks a little bit more rustic, a little bit more farmhouse. And I think these are going to stay for quite a while before I make another change. Now that the outside looks beautiful, let's beautify the inside. Zurus sent me these 4 smooth pull-out cabinet organizers, and I'm really excited to get the inside of my cabinets looking as good as the outside. Let's take a look at this sleek and sturdy drawer organizer set that's perfect for tight spaces under your sink. The drawers come fully assembled, so there's no fancy tools or skills required for installation. There's 2 ways that you can install them. They have a sticky tape on the bottom, or you can install them with the screws that they provide in the bag. This set has 4 different sizes, the smaller one that I just took out, and then 3 more that get gradually larger. So I'm going to unpack all of these and lay them across my bathroom counter so I can figure out what I want to put in each of them. All I had done previously was use these baskets, but I had to always bend down and dig so far back that these drawers are going to make it so much easier to be able to find all of the things that I need on a daily basis. And since these drawers are much bigger than the baskets I was using, I'll be able to fit a lot more stuff in each one. And that will make things so much more clean and organized under the sink. For the installation of these drawers, you got to make sure that your cabinet bottom is nice and clean and dry, especially if you're using the sticky tape like I am. Peel off the sticky tape backing and then make sure that you're putting it in the right way and place it down onto your cabinet bottom. Give the drawers a gentle push down onto the rails to make sure that they're stuck down really well. And that's it. Then all you need to do is add all of your stuff and you're all set. This took me about 15 minutes to do all 4 organizers and made my cabinets go from kind of sort of organized to beautifully organized. These drawers made the chaos under my sink a downright satisfying solution. Everything has its place and there's no more digging through piles of clutter.
Today, I have a true trash to treasure. I am going to take these 3 tin cans and their lids and create something super cute for the bathroom. The first thing I'm going to do is take some 100% acetone in a cotton round and just work on getting the rest of that glue off because I'm going to be painting these and I don't want all of that texture to show. I'm going to be doing something with the lids to make them a little bit thicker. I'm tracing out 2 circles of cardboard. Now, this is fairly thin cardboard. It's just from the bottom of a box. If you had corrugated cardboard, 1 piece would probably be enough. Then I'm going to cut them out and glue 2 of the pieces right on top of the lids. I'm going to want to build up the lids and make them look like wood. So I'm using some of this crack shot spackle and I'm going to take a craft stick and just put a generous layer on top. You're going to want to pretend that you're icing a cake. And if you've never done that before, well, then sorry, I can't help you. But anyhow, I'm just going to spread it around, give it a nice even layer on the top, and then I'm also going to go around the edges and fill in those gaps from the cardboard. For the cans, I'm going to be using Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Parisian Gray. It's a really pretty light gray. I'm going to do the inside of the cans as well, so when you open up the lid, it looks a little bit more complete and doesn't look exactly like a tin can. I'll do one coat on the inside and one coat on the outside. This chalk paint is super thick. I find it even thicker than some other brands of chalk paint, and I really love that for it because you can use one coat and it will cover beautifully. Once the cans were dry, I used some masking tape just to mark off a section at the bottom that I'm going to use the Maui sand chalk paint and just do one coat all the way around. In hindsight, I should have just painted the top part gray and then done the bottom part in the dark gray right on the tin can. It probably would have saved me a little bit of paint, a little bit of drying time, but that's okay. It worked out in the end. So this is the next day and these are nice and dry. I'm taking some fine grit sandpaper and I'm just going over the spackle to get off any of the main ridges. I'm not going to be sanding it down 100% smooth because I want these to look like round pieces of wood. I'm also going to make sure that I sand the edges and get a nice smooth finish on that. I don't want any of the spackling to stick out farther than the lid of the can itself. Some of the spackling got underneath the lid of the can, so I'm just taking an older craft knife and just pulling that off just to make sure that the lid will sit properly on top of each can. I'm just taking some DIY chalk paint in white and I'm giving all of the lids, including the sides, one coat. While I wait for the paint to dry, I took 3 beads that I have, and you can see that there's something in the middle of each of them. So I was able to use a piece of a dowel and just push it into the hole of the bead and then cut it off where it needed to be. This last little tiny one, I didn't have a dowel small enough, so I ended up using 2 bamboo skewers and I just pushed them in as best I could. And now I'm going to paint them with the dark Maui sand chalk paint from Folk Art. Now I'm going to be using a gel stain in the color walnut, and this is a water-based stain, and I picked it up at a dollar store somewhere, but I'm pretty sure it's available at different hardware stores as well. I'm using a pretty rough brush because I don't want this to be a solid brown color, and you can see that I'm getting some streaking, which is really neat because it starts to look like wood. I found that if I hot glued the beads right on top of the lids, it was so much easier to paint them. So I did that for the second coat. I didn't film myself hot gluing them on because I think that's pretty self-explanatory. At least I hope it is. Now that the gel stain is dry, I'm taking the same rough brush. It has been washed and dried, and I'm going to just dry brush some of the dark gray that I used on the cans across the lids in the same direction as the wood grain. I wanted them to look a little bit more deeper and distressed and blend in with the cans a little bit more. I wanted to have some labels on the cans and I wanted their labels to be the same. So I created this on my computer. I will have the free printable available on my website, which is also linked down in my description box. I'm going to cut these out, leaving a little bit of a white line on the outside of the black line, the box, and then I'm going to use some Mod Podge to glue them on. So I'm going to tell you to do as I say and not as I do. For this first can, I didn't put any moisture on the paper, and that was my mistake. I thought I would be able to get all of the bubbles out with just putting the Mod Podge on the can, but I have found that if you put a layer of Mod Podge on the back of your label or your paper or whatever you're using, it will join together with the Mod Podge that's on the can much better and you'll get less bubbles. So do that instead of what I'm doing here. Now that I've got all the labels on, I'm going to give the whole can one coat of Mod Podge. Number one, it's going to make the label and the glue that I got on the outside of the label blend in, but it's also going to protect the paint from coming off. Since I'm going to be storing these in the bathroom, sometimes there's a little extra moisture in bathrooms, and I don't want this paint to peel off. I'm going to do the same for the lids. The last thing I'm going to do is add some details with this white butcher's twine. I'm using hot glue to start it, and then I'm just going to put it all the way around underneath the label, and then I'm also going to add one on top of the label, and I'll add a little bit to the lid as well. I also added some to the bottom of the bead just to hide where the hot glue is. I think these turned out super cute. What do you think? The second project I have for you is repurposing this Christmas sign that I made before the holidays. I didn't really like how it turned out, so I'm going to take some sandpaper and go over the ink and the paint just to smooth it out. I'm going to give it 2 coats of white Adirondack Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do brush strokes up and down for the first coat. And the second coat, I'm going to do the brush strokes across. And that's going to help really camouflage any of the lettering that might show through or any of the black paint. Now for this one, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm using my Cricut Joy, and I created this decal of the little tub and hot bath 25 cents, soap and towel extra. I will have this as a free printable available on my website, so if you're interested, go click on the link down in my description box and you'll be able to download it for free. As you just saw the layout, I'm going to put the tub in the center, so I'll start with that to make sure that it is centered. The scent sign didn't come off with the transfer tape, so I'm just going to use a pair of tweezers to peel it off and then place it where I want it to be. If I was going to reuse this frame and peel this decal off in the future, I wouldn't do this step. But I really love how this sign turned out, so I'm going to give it a coat of Mod Podge to make sure that none of the letters on the decal peel up.
Thanks to Zurus for sponsoring today's video and sending me those beautiful cabinet drawer organizers. Remember, the link is down in my description box. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you enjoyed my little bathroom refresh and some trash to treasure. See you in the next one.